What is up, everybody? It's Dr. Vibe here, host and producer of the award-winning The Dr. Vibe Show. I have hosted and produced over 2,000 epic conversations over the last 10 years. And what makes our conversations epic? We don't do interviews. We do conversations. What is up, everybody? It's Dr. Vibe here, host and producer of the award-winning Dr. Vibe Show. As always, I'd like to say you're blessed, highly favored, a magnet for miracles, and a solution for someone's problem. Please note that I am the host of the award-winning Dr. Vibe Show, the place for epic conversations, and I'm the host of Epic Conversations. Also know that I'm a certified empowerment coach and president and CEO of Express Your Vibe Coaching and Communications. And we have, I can say, a friend on the Dr. Vibe Show. He is on, I think if you look at people that have been on the Dr. Vibe Show in the top 10, or at least the top 10%, this gentleman, if you include the many appearances he's made on the Sunday Night Conversation, do you know what time it is? He is a frequent flyer of the Dr. Vibe Show, home of Epic Conversations, LeRon Barton. He is a writer from Kansas City, Missouri. He currently resides in San Francisco, been writing poetry, screenplays, and short stories since he was way young. His essays have appeared in Salon, The Good Men Project, Those People, Alternet, San Francisco Bayview, BuzzFeed, Gorilla Convict, and Elephant Journal. His first book, Straight Dope, a 360-degree look into American drug culture, was released in February 2013. His most recent book, All We Need Is Love, Stories of Dating, Relationships, and Heartbreak and Marriage, is also available on Amazon. And one thing he doesn't have in this profile, he recently, in the last few months, appeared on Al Jazeera America. So he's got to include that in his bio, because I watch his back and make sure he stays current and up to date. But tonight, he's going to share with us a great article from his website, LeRonBarton.com, called Men and the Need to Be Vulnerable. And I think it's a really important topic, especially at this time with these allegations of men sexually abusing not only women, but men. I think it's a very timely conversation piece. So if you're watching live, please add the comments on the YouTube page. I'll get the comments to LeRon in real time. And if there's any questions you have for him, please answer them in real time. So welcome back again, Mr. LeRon Barton. What is up?
What's going on, Dr. Bob? Man, that was a heck of an intro. I'm just like, you know, it's one of those things where it's like when you've accomplished a lot and when you're starting to make inroads, and when you have a friend just sort of just relay back a lot of things that you've done, it's just like, wow, like, you know, I've actually kind of, you know, accomplished a couple things, but, you know, there's always more stuff to work on, man. So, but yeah, I just want to say thank you very much. I really appreciate it. And, you know, I'm just really happy to be here again. And I mean, I never take it for granted. I know you're getting like more and more people to be on the show, and I'm just really just thankful that I'm able to come on here once again and just, you know, talk about the stuff that I write, because I think it's pretty important.
Well, there's always room for you to when you want to come on the show. Right. And I want to shout out already Dr. Cammie Anderson, who's already jumped in. So, hey, what is up, Dr. Cammie? Thanks for taking time to jump on and have this share and be part of this epic conversation. If you have any questions or comments, please put them in the chat section on the side. So let's get right to it, LeRon.
Absolutely.
Why did you want to write about this subject before all this stuff started happening? What made you write about this topic?
You know, man, like it's so funny because like this year, like I had said, you know, I mean, I write a lot about racism, white supremacy. I write a lot about, you know, just sort of black men, you know, dealing with society. But I really wanted to write about men, period. And you just saw the difficulties of being a man in 2017, and just how men are just not at a place to be vulnerable. And I just thought that was just so interesting, just like how, you know, not only are men not sort of encouraged to cry, but we're not encouraged to, you know, discuss our failings, you know, discuss our fears, you know, we're not, you know, and most importantly, Dr. Bob, we're not encouraged to like comfort each other. You know, I think last year or the year before last, I wrote an essay called, it was some to the effect of encouraging boys to cry. And I wanted to take it a step further, where I not only didn't want to talk about black men, but I wanted to talk about men from all, places of the diaspora, different cultures, different economic backgrounds, different sexuality. I just wanted to just talk about us, because I mean, I feel like that for men to be vulnerable, I mean, it's something that really needs to be discussed.
Well, I one of the things, and if you allow me to do this with you,
Sure.
I want to have you take us along your manhood vulnerability journey. But
Right.
at the beginning of this conversation piece, this article, you put out a very important question. What if we just let men be free from all the identity destroying expectations we have placed on manhood? Why is that question important?
Because I think that excuse me, forgive me. I think that men were sort of locked in this box to where we have to be tough. We have to embrace some sort of masculinity that at times can be very harmful. What if men can just freely cry? What if men just didn't have to be just this archetype of just a John Henry or like an Arnold Schwarzenegger? What if men could just walk around wearing pink and orange all day? What if men, and I mean, I'll be a society, what if some men didn't have to hide their love for a Taylor Swift? You know what I mean? Just, what if we just set men free from all these expectations of what a man is, and just let that person just live? I mean, we will be surprised as to see how men would move and sort of operate in this landscape.
Okay. When you were growing up, did you have any male figures that showed vulnerability in their lives?
No. The greatest man I ever known is my grandfather, and he is. I mean, he'll tell you he's a man's man. Like, I think I saw him cry once. I mean, that's just an incredible human being. But a lot of the men that were in my life were sort of macho, sort of tough, very masculine, full of machismo, and just men that just were like, this is what a man does. A man takes care of his woman. A man's gotta be ready to fight. A man's gotta be strong. Physically, mentally, emotionally. I mean, crying's for girls. And just of course the dreaded toughen up. So, I didn't see different examples of men until I grew older, and of course, left Kansas City for San Diego. But going back to that, I don't want to put this on just that, this is a Midwestern problem, and I don't want to say that this is a hood problem. I mean,
no, it's a right across the board.
Absolutely, man. I mean, it as I said earlier, like, this spans economic and social social structures.
Absolutely. Well, this subject, and I've done these epic conversations for 10 years, and one of the things I've come to realize is that the challenges that many men have, there's some core challenges regardless of race, creed, color, and income that a lot of men have. And one of them is this conversation piece we're doing tonight. Absolutely.
Word up.
So what I'm going to do, and the way I want to do this tonight, this conversation later on, I want to highlight on your journey. Then we'll get into some of the things like the man up. So you say in this article that you didn't start to have deep friendships until your mid-20s. So what was friendships like from the time you came out of the womb until your mid-20s?
I think it was a lot of just, superficial. I mean, they weren't like, just silly friendships. I mean, because a lot of the friends that I have that I had growing up, I still have them now. It's just that, we would talk about, cars, women, we would talk about sports. We talk about video games, music. We would try to beat each other up. Jump off roofs. It was like a lot of this. Trying to prove. I'm I'm more of a man than you. I'm a young guy. Like, he's just all these testosterone sort of contests. And if you notice, like, there was nothing really sort of there was nothing that would like just scratch the surface. I mean, when we would talk about girls, it would always be like, oh yeah, I hit that bitch, or like, she's a hoe, everybody sleeps. I mean, a lot of it was, misogynistic, and I mean, that's just because that's how we were raised. I mean, it's like, talking about women meant, oh well, I slept with her, you know what I mean, she's hot. I mean, it wasn't really anything of, oh, she's got a great personality, she's a great thinker. I mean, it was nothing complex whatsoever. So I think that when I started to not only get more exposure to the world, but I also started to really like who I was and not be afraid to talk to some of my guy friends about some really deep stuff that was bothering me, then that's when the friendships took on a whole new shape.
I'm just going to take a time out for a second because I'm very blessed. We have two doctors watching this live.
Nice.
We have Dr. Cami Anderson, who I introduced before, who, if Dr. Cam, if you can just put in the comments section your website and your cause, I want to shout out. And then we have a great lady, Dr. Tachi, who is I turn to when it comes to media and pop culture. She does a great live stream via Periscope and Facebook Live every Wednesday at 6 p.m. It is outstanding. So definitely catch it. So they have some very good comments here. So Dr. Kem is saying, not having role models is what makes it hard to change the paradigm. I know men that are empathetic, nurturing, and the like, but they self-censor in front of some men.
Right.
And then Dr. Touch is saying we live in a very hyper masculine society. Anything you want to add into those comments before we move forward?
I totally agree with men censoring each other around other men. I mean, if you've ever noticed, I mean, men, when they get around a group of women, act differently than when they get around a group of men, because when a guy gets around a group of guys, well, he's supposed to sort of keep up this persona as to being one of the guys. But when he gets around women, he becomes softer. I don't know if that's just because women are much more softer and much more emotional than men. But I kind of find that the conversations are a bit deeper. The conversations are a bit more. I guess they're just a bit deeper on an emotional level. And the fact that I have many women friends. I mean, that's one of the reasons why that I love women so much, is because the thought patterns and the conversations. I mean, they're just so different, and they're just so much more rewarding on a totally different level.
Let me ask, you had mentioned in the article in your mid-20s you started to be vulnerable, and you mentioned just in your comments a few moments ago that you started to have these vulnerability conversations or showing your vulnerability to your friends. Now, did you still keep the same group of friends, and did they become vulnerable with you, or what happened? Because many a time when men become vulnerable with other men, they sort of flee them and just say you're soft. So were you keeping the same friends, or did you get new male friends?
Well, my core group of buds. I mean, out of them, I'm still probably really good friends with about two of them. Another guy, he's one of the first guys I consider to be a brother. We're still friends, but yeah, as you grow, you start to gain new interests. You start to be attracted to different things, and so my friendships as I gotten older, they just became different. It just wasn't a lot of like the silly party stuff, but it was just like real life. Like, okay, we're in our late 20s. We're gonna be 30. Let's start acting like a real adult. And let's, as a really good friend of mine said, let's leave the garden of adolescence and let's really step into adulthood.
I love that take. Leave the garden of adolescence. I love that.
I'm sorry.
Sorry. Sorry about that. I love that quote. Leave the garden of adolescence. I love that take. That is strong.
Go
ahead.
Dr. Vibe, you're like, let me sort of expound on that. I think that a lot of people, they're kind of afraid to be adults, right? Because being an adolescent, it's so easy, right? You can just kind of F off, you can party, you can you can run around, you can do things illegal, and like the consequences are not as steep. But when you become an adult, you have to take on responsibilities that you may deem not as fun. But it's like what it's like what this guy that I knew said. He said he was going to get married, and he said, LeRon, I'm looking for a different kind of fun. So you have to. You got to make that move eventually, because you don't want to be a 35-year-old cat trying to act like you 18 years old. That's just corny. So I think that people have to realize that sooner or later you're going to have to embrace adulthood, and you should embrace it sooner than later.
Well, would you allow me to put it in a man's perspective that men need to leave the garden of boyhood and step into the journey of manhood?
Absolutely, man. I don't want to be. Look, I'm 39 years old. Like, I don't act like a young boy anymore. I just wouldn't want to. That's again, that's just kind of lame. It's good to be a grown man. We should do grown man things. Being in, solid relationships, 401ks, saving sexy. That's just all about being a grown man. But just not only that, but just, having empathy and thinking about things, thinking about your actions and how it affects others versus thinking about how your actions just affect yourself.
Okay. Well, and the doctors are on fire tonight, Dr. Cami and Dr. Tachi, and actually they are very good friends, so it's very nice to have both of them on here. And Dr. Cami is saying that safe space is important, but there are men that create them with other men. They just seem to be few and far between.
Oh yeah, definitely. I would definitely agree. But what is it like? What's a safe space for a man though? Outside of, a sporting event, outside of a bar. Or
the barber shop.
Right, exactly. We need men to have fellowship with each other. That was the main purpose of me writing this piece, is to encourage fellowship amongst other men. And just not have it be on some pretense of just like, oh, well, I got to act this way because, I don't want them to be thinking that I'm soft. But, there's nothing wrong with being soft. The worst thing in the world is some soft dude trying to act hard. And because it just seems so inauthentic. I think that when men are vulnerable, that's when a man is comfortable with who he is. And once you love who you are, and it takes such a long time, Dr. Vibe, because we live in a society that tells men that there's something wrong with you. You have to be bigger, faster, stronger. You have to be this guardian, this protector, this provider. But some guys just aren't cut out for that. And I will forever continue to beat this drum of men come in all different shapes, sizes, and we're just different. And I mean, so every man doesn't have to be Idris Elba, doesn't have to be freaking Aaron Rodgers. There's Jean-Michael Basquiat.
Denzel Washington, right?
Exactly, man. I mean, like we're all different, and I think that we need to. And I'm sorry. Most importantly, I think we need to create a space to where that is encouraged.
One last conversation piece before we get on to the terminologies some of the terminologies about manhood or vulnerability that you're concerned about. Do you remember the moment when you said, I need to start becoming vulnerable to myself? Was there a moment? Was there an event? You said, because it said in your mid-20s, was there an event or even a series of events that said, you know what, I've got to make a turn?
Honestly, Dr. Bob, there was a lot of things, man. I mean, I was just I was trying to be something that I wasn't. I was kind of sleeping around a lot. I was trying to be tough because I was afraid, because I was going out a lot. I just kind of knew, look, who you are deep down inside, and it's and as you get older and as time goes by, that person starts to surface more and more and more, and I wanted to truly love LeRon, and I wanted to act like a person who had empathy, a person that was approachable, and it got to a point where I just didn't feel anything wrong with men expressing their emotions. I mean, it's impossible for a guy to be on 100% of the time. I mean, people need to allow men the space to fall. I mean, you can't keep carrying this burden of just, or I shouldn't say burden. We can't keep upholding this expectation of just a man not being vulnerable or a man being a rock, because that's just not real. And honestly, when I started getting in touch with my feelings and with just expressing who I was, life just got way easier. Life just got easier. I started feeling good. I started having a great time. I really became the man that you see in front of me, and I think LeRon Barton is the bomb.
You better think you're the bomb, because if you don't think you're the bomb, no one else is going to think you're the bomb, right?
Exactly.
Well, okay, so we'll get more into the conversation about some terminologies or terms that you just cannot stand. Dr. Cami is saying no cookie cutter manhood. And Dr. Tati is saying exactly, men are not a monolith. So let's get to some of the terms, and thank you, ladies. You are helping making this an epic conversation. Thank you so much. One of the terms you cannot stand is the ever-present man up. Why?
Yeah, because I mean, it just basically tells young men to just shake it off. It tells young men that stop acting soft. I mean, to be honest with you, Dr. Bob, at its core is very anti-woman, because I mean it's like a boy's supposed to be this tough, hard exterior person that does not feel any pain, and we all know that that's just not real. I mean, crying is like one of the most natural, human emotions, one of the most natural human actions, and you're telling a young boy to not cry, to not feel disappointment. I mean, that's crazy. I mean, so that stunts growth, and that gives young boys, and in terms of young men, in terms of the men, that gives them an unrealistic expectation of what manhood is. So I mean, I would hear that, man up, pain is just weakness leaving the body. Boys don't cry. I mean, this is just, I mean, come on, man. I mean, these are young guys. I mean, like the last time I cried, I listened to this song called "Favorite Game" by this guy named Toussaint. Forgot the brother's last name, but I thought about my friend An that passed this year. I was just thinking about her because I went to Morocco, and I was like, man, like An would have loved this, and I just start crying when I heard the song, and I'm at the point in my life where that's okay. Everyone cries. I mean, like, men are at a point now, Dr. Bob, where we are suffering from heart attacks, from all this mental anguish. Men are committing suicides at a high rate, and a lot of that is because we're just internalizing this pain. And so, again, if we don't allow men spaces and areas to just cry and just, I'll tell you a story. So, when my friend An died this year, she died very tragically, and for like the first 2 weeks, I would wake up, I'd take a shower, I'd brush my teeth, whatever, wash my face, and I would sit down and I would cry for about 5 minutes. I would get up, wipe my tears, put my sunglasses on, walk out the door, and I would play this Queen song, "Somebody to Love."
Oh, yes.
And I did this for like 2 weeks straight, right?
Oh yeah, I know that song.
Dude, that's like one of the only songs that really like cheers me up. And so, I was just grieving, and I didn't feel bad. Like, like my partner Michelle, she was like, "Yo, like, I want you to continue to cry." Like, and that's one of the dope things is like when you have friends, when you have relationships, you have to encourage men to be able to show all spectrums of their emotions, because if you don't, then they're, I'm going to say this, like, those emotions are going to come out some way, right? They're going to come out either through like physical anger, through drug abuse, through extreme extreme see what's the word I'm looking for, extreme actions. I mean, it could come out via a heart attack, it could come out via suicide. I mean, but it's going to come out some way. So I just think that crying is the most healthiest way of doing it.
Just going to add some more commentary here. Dr. Tachi saying, plus if you don't release emotion, it often manifests in destructive ways, which is just piggybacking on what you just shared. Just to add on to some of the things that LeRon is saying, for many years on conversations like this, even up to this afternoon, I was speaking to another man saying that 80% of the suicides in North America committed by people over 40 years old are by men.
That's crazy.
And I think the large majority of teenage suicides are by teenage boys. So I so much know about the vulnerability piece. It's such a huge piece, and it's definitely got to be addressed. I want to also, in your article, that moment you saw another man say to another man, "I love you."
Right.
I think it's an important piece.
Man, that was so powerful. I mean, that's one of, there's just certain parts in your, just certain things that take place in your life that you just remember. And I remember this brother. I don't remember his name, but he was just a very confident, very cool person. I mean, he was very secure in himself, and he was just kind of expressing. It wasn't one of those things where it's like, okay, I'm not going to see my homeboy for forever, or he's going off to war, or I'm gay, so I want to just express my feelings towards him. But it was just like, all right, hey man, I love you, man. Get home safe. And I was like, damn, like that's real. That's what I want to be able to do. and it was so natural. It was so free flowing, and I just, that was such an important part of my life, because I've always admired people, particularly men, who are very secure in who they are. And it's taken me such a long time to get to this point. And now that I'm secure in myself, and I love being LeRon Barton and this and that. And I tell my friends I love them all the time. Like, I just remember like something that the rapper Tony Ayo said. He said, I tell my dudes I love them all the time because I may not see them again. And I kind of took that and I said, yeah, that's what's up. But I mean, just more than that, just expressing, hey man, I really cherish who you are, man. Because I mean, there's people who have never been told that, right?
Yep.
And there's people who have
Yep.
who are very foreign to touch,
mm-hmm.
and I'm a hugger, right? Like,
so am I. So am
right?
I.
You dig? Like I'm like a you know what I'm saying? Like, so
just as long as you don't squeeze the air out of them.
No.
Yeah.
I'm but I mean, like I love giving hugs to people that I have love for, because it's just you gotta tell people that you love them, and it's just all about nurturing friendships, and it's also good for you.
What do you think are some of the root causes for this situation?
Root causes for what exactly?
Men not being vulnerable.
I think that society tells men that we're supposed to act a certain way. That I mean, like
do you not only think it's also culturally based too, not just society based?
Well, I mean, like, so I'm from the ghetto, and you can't be soft there, right? Because I mean, if you're soft, you will be preyed upon, you will be taken advantage of, you could be victim of a circumstance. And I think that a lot of young boys are afraid, and I think that a lot of cultural tropes have been passed down, and that's, I mean, it just, for me, a lot of it just sort of like revolves around fear. Okay, as a young man, it's really tough out here. You have to maintain a pretty hard exterior. I mean, I remember when a friend of mine, we were talking about her dating, and she said, LeRon, the thing that really frustrates me, and she was talking about particularly non-white males, she says, is that they are not vulnerable with me, and I never forget that conversation, because she was like, the relationship can't progress to the next level. And I told her, I said, well, the reason why men aren't vulnerable with you is because they are afraid, is because you haven't earned their trust. I mean, I know that sounds kind of kooky, but if a man is sitting here and if he's telling you about his fears and his desires and his dreams and his ambitions, and if he's able to cry in front of you, that means he trusts you. Because a lot of times when a guy has done that, someone's ridiculed him, or someone's just sort of misused their feelings and have just kind of just like tossed it back into the face. And so for a man to tell a woman those things, I mean, his deepest and darkest secrets, I mean, that means he loves you. But it takes men, particularly men that come from them areas like that I come from. It takes us a while, because we're like, okay, is she going to abuse this? Is she going to make me feel bad? If I say something, I mean, it's just a lot of what if. So it's a lot of taking precautions, and so I mean, unfortunately, that's just the way it is, though.
Well, as we're winding down on time, it's fleeting fast. I guess the way we're gonna start closing this down. what are some action steps you would suggest to men out there who are not vulnerable? What can they do to get to that point of being vulnerable? You have done it. You've done it a number of years ago. What sort of action steps, what sort of suggestions can you make to men, and also if any of their partners can help them become vulnerable?
For me, it helped that I was around different kind of men. You know, I remember, I don't know if it was Malcolm X or if it was St. Augustine, but they had told me, traveling opens up the mind. You know, get out of your neighborhood, man. I mean, you know, even just go to a different part of town. You know, interact with different people. I mean, there's a lot of, I mean, I wouldn't say a lot, but there are some men's groups that are there that, you know, you could sort of talk with different men. You know, sort of maybe get a mentor. You know, I mean, it's a tough thing, Dr. Bob. I mean, because, you know, there isn't a step by step, you know, booklet of, okay, you know, how do you become vulnerable? I mean, I would say, you know, gain empathy. You know, I mean, like, work with people who are less fortunate than you are. You know, talk to women and you know, absolutely listen. You know, don't just a lot of people, when they have conversations, they talk to respond, but, you know, just listen. Like, that comes easiest for me because I love hearing people's stories. You know, I love hearing other perspectives. So I mean, when I have a conversation, I'm trying to take in everything that, you know, you're telling me. So, you know, that's something to be done, man. I mean, it's difficult, but it's definitely necessary. So I would definitely, the first thing is to, you know, step out of your comfort zone. You know, start getting around different folks. You know, and you'll see a sort of like domino from there.
What is society going to be like? And this is a good and bad scenario. I'm going to do the not so good scenario first, and then the better. What is society going to look like if we can't start doing a U-turn on this subject? What do you see a future? What's manhood going to be like, and what's society going to be like if we can't make a U-turn on this subject?
Man, like, you're like, what's the great Frederick Douglass quote? I think it says something to the effect of, it's easier to build strong children than to repair broken men, something like that.
Okay.
So we're going to be having a lot of young broken men running around here, right? We're going to be having a lot more suicides, a lot more you know, addiction issues. I mean, communication is just going to get much worse between men and women, between father and son. I mean, we're going to sort of, I guess, gravitate towards a really nasty masculinity, and we're gonna sort of, I guess, marry into this hyper masculine way of thinking, and a lot of people are just not built for that, and so it's gonna be pretty nasty, man. I mean, like, when you are able to be yourself, then you're able to be more vulnerable. But as I said, a lot of people aren't able to do that because they're afraid, because they've been told that, oh, you know what, shake it off. Boys don't cry. So I mean, it's a lot of this anti-woman, hyper masculinity that just will not do anything for the growth of man.
And let's look on the flip side. What do you see the future like if we're able to make a U-turn on this subject?
Oh man, happier people. I mean, gosh, like men. I mean, can you just men being able to express who they are without fear of retribution? I mean, without being labeled a sissy, or or like an anti-gay slur, or I mean, men truly able to lift each other up. I mean, the word that comes to mind is like not an evolution, but like a revolution. Into just how we are. I mean, it'll be a beautiful thing, man. I mean, it was when I was in Morocco. I was talking with my partner, and I said, we kept seeing just these groups of women traveling together, and I said, I told her, I was like, I think that's really dope how women are just able to just be with each other and just have fun. And I don't find that a lot with men. I love the softness and the tenderness that women bring each other. And it's like there isn't like, if I say this, she's gonna think that I'm gay. You know what I mean? It's none of that. As one of the doctors said, it's none of that self-censoring, right? It's just like the emotions are just there, and I've always loved that about women and just being amongst each other. So I mean, hopefully it'll be like that.
Excellent. And just here's some final comments. Dr. Camus saying, I can say the men in my tribe work hard to stay vulnerable. They build each other up constantly and know that their hearts are protected by each other and by the women to be free free to just be. And she also says, you got to teach it early. We try to tell our sons to work through emotions, not push them down.
Right. Definitely. Like, man, like, it starts so early. Like I have a young mentee that, I'm going to start working with again. And one of the things that, he and I have always talked about is to be yourself and, don't be afraid to, express your feelings. That's something that, we're going to be hanging out with the next couple weeks. And that's something that I'm going to just continuously hammer home. It's nothing wrong with a young man being tender. There's no crime in that. You know what I mean? Like, again, man, like everyone's not tough. You know what I mean? And it's just expressing who you are and just being comfortable with that is the first step to just feeling good, man. I mean, like I feel great. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Like I don't have to front, and try to be something that
it takes work. It takes work to front.
It takes a lot of work. Look, man, I'm 39. Like I didn't wake up like this. I mean, it's took like years, and there are some days that are better than others, but for the most part, now that I've arrived here, Dr. Bob, I'm not trying to go anywhere.
Well, one of the things I say to people is, in order to get through, you've got to go through.
Absolutely.
Big time. LeRon, I'd like to say thanks again for taking time in your positive, productive schedule. Do you have any final comments you'd like to make for our audience on this subject?
Just, man, thank you for allowing me to be on the show, man. I really appreciate the two doctors' points of views. I mean, we're just sort of on like the same level, and just this conversation needs to keep happening. I would love to see just a group of men, all different races and ages, just talking about this and, really encouraging other men to express how they feel. Like don't bottle it up, man. I mean, don't go out drinking and or doing silly stuff like that. Just, you have to sometimes just sit with it and, you'd be surprised, man. I mean, like yes, there's pain that comes with, disappointment and anguish, but when you bottle it up and when you push it down, it's still going to be there, and it's just going to be a lot of unresolved emotions, and those will manifest, unfortunately, negatively most of the time. So
I agree with that. With any men who are challenged in regards to the vulnerability, you can approach LeRon, you can approach myself. I'm a certified empowerment coach. I do a lot of this, and a lot of hours now I'm spending with especially young fathers helping them work through areas of vulnerability, but also older men too on doing the same thing. So reach out, because if you don't, we don't want to know the there's too many repercussions. And as I always say, if you're not careful, life can kill you.
Wow.
It's true. It's upside.
That's true.
So definitely. So I also want to thank Dr. Cami. She said, thanks, gentlemen. This was a wonderful conversation. I look forward to you continuing, LeRon. Also like to say thanks very much to Dr. Tachi, as always. And again, catch Dr. Tachi. We're broadcasting this live on November 7th. So that means tomorrow night, November 8th, 6 p.m. Go to Periscope or Facebook Live. Look up Tachi. You'll see outstanding content about
That's what's up.
Media, tech, and pop culture. And one thing I wanted to ask Dr. Tachi, is she aware now that Twitter allows you to use 280 characters? I
saw that, man.
Yeah, so
I saw that. That's crazy.
Yeah, so I think they were rolling it over the last little while, and I would just be able to start doing it tonight. So I'm sure that Dr. Tachi, if she hasn't already mentioned it on her media scope for tomorrow, please mention it tomorrow, because that'll be a big game changer for a lot of people. A lot
more shit talking.
Yeah, there you go. So how can people get in contact with you, LeRon?
Yes, they can find me on Twitter at Mainline LeRon. You can also go to Instagram. I'm at LeRon L. Barton. And I have a Facebook professional writing page. That's LeRon L. Barton. And also go to my website, which is LeRonBarton.com. Very, very succinct. I'm always looking for conversations for people's different point of views. Let's just keep it clean. You know what I mean? No nasty language, no racial slurs, none of that nasty gram stuff. And you can also find me sometimes on the Great Dr. Vibe Sunday show, where I'm just, getting at stuff. You know what I mean? But yeah, good times, y'all.
Well, I will say a few other things. If you go to my website, thedrvibeshow.com, and put it LeRon's name, LeRon Barton, in the search engine, you'll see a number of conversations that he's been a part of, whether it's Do You Know What Time It Is or him by himself. And also I would also promote a number of manhood conversations I had with two gentlemen, one Glenn Barker, who is in charge of the Mankind Project in Chicago, and another gentleman, Dr. Marvin Thompson. We did about a year's worth of conversations on different aspects of manhood, including vulnerability. So if you want to reference those are a great starting point in regards to increasing your knowledge, whether you're a man or a woman, about manhood. I don't want to say, I'm going to say this because of my platform. I think the better men we have in the world, the better the world will be. So if you want to contest me on that, you can come at me, but I'm not going to jump off a bridge because if you contest me on this. Dr. Vibe, if you want to watch replays of my epic conversations via YouTube, you're on the YouTube channel right here and now. If you want to listen to audio replays of my epic conversations, go to the website address, thedrvibeshow.com. Also, you can go to Apple Podcasts. Yes, it's Apple Podcasts. iHeartRadio, TuneIn Radio, Google Play Music Store, Stitcher, and iHeartRadio. Then, if you want to see me in other capacities, selected replays audio-wise on the goodmenproject.com, which both LeRon and I contribute to. And also you can get selected replays also at wgmsradio.com. Also know I'm a certified empowerment coach, president and CEO of Express Your Vibe Coaching Communications. If you'd like a complimentary 30-minute session, come on down like some people in England are doing now. You can touch base with me at drvibeshow. That's Twitter. Email address dr.vibe@drvibeshow.com. And also, you can go to my website address and fill out the contact page. Also, I am a brand ambassador for the only online magazine that promotes African Americans in food, wine, and travel. The website address is cuisinenoirmag.com, and that's Cuisine Noir Magazine. So, one other thing. New service opportunity that Dr. Vibe is offering, something I've called Getting Media Coverage, where I help businesses and entrepreneurs get media coverage so they can increase their business exposure. So if you want to talk about that, touch base with me. 3 last things. Live your life as a dream. If you can dream it, you can make it. Also, sometimes you have to get smaller to get stronger. Again, a large thanks to Dr. Cami and Dr. Tachi. As I like to say, God bless. Peace be well, keep the faith, and we will catch you soon. Thanks for watching live or on the replay. What is up, everybody? It's Dr. Vibe here, host and producer of the award-winning The Dr. Vibe Show. I have hosted and produced over 2,000 epic conversations over the last 10 years. And what makes our conversations epic? We don't do interviews. We do conversations.